Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan.
When I saw the topic you'd chosen for today, Sudeep, I wasn't sure why we were repeating a topic so soon in the podcast. And then I realized that, unlike me, you would have some reason of justifying why we're repeating a specific topic in a matter of weeks. I see the title as Future Proofing Marketing Careers. And we did an episode on how AI will impact marketing careers. Is this even different?
Yes, actually. When we did the last episode, we treated AI from its utility point of view.
Mhm.
We spoke about how can artificial intelligence be deployed by real intelligence,
Right.
and therefore variety of use cases that AI can offer.
Hmm.
However, in response to that post, a number of people approached us
Hmm.
to ask specifically what will be the impact on careers, marketing careers.
Not just jobs, but careers this time.
Careers, correct. I thought it will be prudent for us to pick up that specific part
Right.
and kind of address some of the concerns and possibly give our point of view in a succinct manner.
Perfect. You said AI threat could be real, but for the mundane, repetitive jobs that we do.
Correct.
With regard to their careers, how concerned should marketers be?
So last time when we spoke about AI, we specifically said that all the repetitive jobs, non-value adding jobs would be taken up by AI,
Mhm.
and everybody, every human being, marketers or otherwise, would be left doing creative or value adding jobs.
Right.
That's the principle we spoke about.
Mhm.
Now, the reason this should be of significant concern to marketing is that with the spurt in number of startups, early stage businesses, etc., I can specifically feel an explosion in marketers in India.
Okay.
Yeah, there are possibly insanely huge number of marketers floating around that are needed to support all of these businesses, and most of them are in this field of performance marketing, growth marketing, funnel marketing,
Right.
etc., etc.
You're talking about the digital marketers who popped up across the market today.
Correct. A number of them are well intentioned, well studied, etc.
Sure.
But a lot of them are specialized in this particular arm of marketing.
Right.
Right now, as I've seen it over a period of time, this specific arm or this specific stream of marketing is about significantly about data management,
Mhm.
and optimizing the spends so that you can get as many people to either see your brand
Right.
or try your brand.
Correct.
But a significant part of the game is all about managing spends and their efficiencies
Hmm.
and creating revenue out of it, therefore.
Right.
Now, that particular part, unfortunately, is something which is significantly tech driven.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And hence, I think a lot of marketers should be worried.
Okay. So let me see if I can put it in my words, less subtle as yours, to say, if all you're doing as a marketer is to manage data and know how to operate a certain software, you must be worried.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Software/tool.
Tool. Okay.
Yeah. You must be worried. And why I say that is that performance marketing started with a promise to the marketers that when you spend your dollars, you should know where they are going and what exactly are you impacting.
Attribution.
You should be able to see your funnel, etc., etc., right?
Mhm.
Which is fine. And Google ads started in 2000. Over a period of time, I think most of the biggest syndicates, Google, Facebook, Amazon, have realized that since they own a large part of the seller universe, a lot of people will want to advertise on their platforms.
Obviously, right.
And they also realize that if people want to sell on their platforms, they would need to invest into selling efficiency creation,
Right.
which is the revenue which is otherwise given to an agency or any kind of tool that sits on top.
Hmm.
And hence, over a period of time, all of them have built their tools,
Right.
right, that manage performance marketing. So Google acquired DoubleClick
Hmm.
in 2007, and then they had a very popular tool called Dart for publishers,
Okay.
or DFP.
Okay.
Now this DFP was therefore taken in by Google, and then they went on to rebrand it in 2010 as DFP,
Mhm.
and then in 2018 it got launched as Google Ad Manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Google Ad Manager simply allows you to define the objective of your campaign, also tells you what do you want the campaign to be optimized on, whether it is impressions or clicks or views, etc., etc., and then allows you to define the budget.
Right.
And then it says thank you,
Hmm.
we will optimize because we know our own algorithm,
Right.
right? Same thing is done by Facebook,
Right.
same thing is done by Amazon.
Hmm.
Yeah, it makes immense sense for such syndicates to be able to invest into something like this and then let the algorithm do its job.
Right. So
And-
basically, the money that would have gone to an agency before
Yeah,
is now being taken up by the tool created by these platforms. So they
Correct.
get paid for the ad and the system.
correct. And in case you are a digital ignoramus
Hmm.
and you don't know how to operate these tools, there are further tools that are available which will translate your requirement into the requirement of these tools, right? So there are, you will find significant number of tools developed by various companies
Right.
which will ensure that they take up your requirement in as basic words as possible and translate it into what Google wants,
Hmm.
hopefully without the loss of any efficiency.
Right.
There are enough number of tools that are available,
Right.
and the more money you spend, the more intelligent these tools become.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. And hence my simple submission to everybody who specializes only in creating, delivering and optimizing these campaigns is that increasingly you will find AI tools being able to do this very well.
Right. So I have a question here, Sudeep.
Yeah.
When you define these campaigns on these softwares, there's an awareness campaign, there's a repeat campaign. Are they very different? Are they really awareness campaigns that we run offline as well? In my opinion, I'll tell you where the question's coming from. Basically, what the software does is that gives you reach to a kind of audience that you want to.
Yeah.
Now, when you run awareness campaigns, what this does is that when I'm a digital marketer, I learn this algorithms work as an awareness campaign without really putting my mind to what is the job of an awareness campaign. Because the software does a reach and frequency for the audience. That's all it does.
Actually, you're right. So therefore, when you're defining a campaign in a Google Ad Manager, it doesn't ask you whether you're running an awareness or a repeat campaign. It simply says, what do you want it to optimize on? Right? So therefore, if you're optimizing it on impressions, it assumes possibly you're doing an awareness campaign. It doesn't matter what you're saying.
Right.
Right? Because you just want people to see. Now, if you want it to optimize on clicks, then it'll just see which creative is getting better clicks and it'll direct all budgets towards that. If you want your campaign to be optimized on leads, then it'll see which particular creative is leading
Getting you
to
the form fills.
So therefore it'll direct your budgets there. So it does not start from brand objectives. It simply says, what do you want the consumer to do now? So therefore they are very clear in the objectives that they're delivering.
Right.
The translation of brand objective into what the Google form or the Amazon form or the Facebook form is asking is something that other tools do or the marketers have to do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from that point of view, that's one bridge. Yeah. But I believe that a lot of it is something that AI or its avatars are going to take up.
As in performance marketing and
Yeah.
execution.
Yes, by and large.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So therefore, this should not be the only skill that you're holding.
Mm,
And the focus is on only.
right.
It's a skill which is worth knowing. You should certainly know it. You should be able to run it on your own. You should be able to market a business on your own. Then you are more agile. You're more hands-on. You're able to take better decisions, etc. But
Right.
that can't be the only skill that you're holding.
Absolutely. So, okay, let me ask you a question otherwise.
Huh.
So, what should marketers hold on to then if AI is going to do this?
Okay, excellent. So let's come to the point. Very specifically, the purpose of a business is to be able to create something of value to the customers and then being able to supply it to the customers in a profitable manner.
Right. Value creation.
Value creation for the customer, right?
Right.
So therefore, where a marketer adds value is in number one, understanding the consumer well, translating that consumer understanding into some kind of a product or a service need, and then being able to craft a product or a service which is able to profitably satisfy that need.
Right.
Right?
Understood. Yeah.
Now, how this information reaches the consumer later is something that performance marketing and its algorithms do. The work upstream is something that you need the marketer to do.
Exactly.
Because even discovering who your consumer is going to be, basis your PMF at the early stage, understanding that very consumer really, really well. As we keep saying, hyper empathizing with them, knowing their joys, sorrows, pain points,
right,
is something that the marketer should do, and no other digital tool or technology will be able to do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what about creating avatars by AI? Isn't that enough to understand your customer?
When you say avatars, as in?
So they create
lookalikes.
Yeah, you put in ChatGPT, gives you a customer profile. Is that not enough for a marketer?
So it can create a customer profile. It'll be able to tell me, somebody like this is so it will give me facts. It can't give me feelings. It can't give me fears. It can't give me inhibitions. It can't give me joys. It can't give me sorrows.
Right.
It can't give me motivations.
You have a term for this, right?
I usually don't use that term because it's a much abused one. And hence I'm very simply saying the job of a marketer is to know their consumer inside out, spend significant amount of time knowing the consumer, so that you are able to almost predict on behalf of the consumer as to what will they like and how will they respond to a certain stimulus. Yeah,
this is exactly what's happening if you watch the documentary about big data.
Okay.
In that they say how you think your phone's listening to you. I still believe it does. But they say, but the ads you see is because the software is able to predict what your next action is going to be. You basically saying it's not just a software job. Pick that up, put it in your head, and fuel it by understanding of the consumer beyond the facts.
Correct. And I just want to, lay down two more things in front of everybody so that this message gets delivered. The first one, Sharan, is that, and I saw this tweet from Arindam Paul today from Attenberg. And I really think he is able to do a great job of, talking like a startup entrepreneur or a founder, and also, lay down marketing fundamentals, timeless marketing fundamentals,
right,
which apply to all kind of businesses, new or old.
Right.
So he speaks about the fact that it is easy to get to a 40-50 crore kind of a revenue for any brand, and performance marketing will take you there. But the fact is that, beyond a point, you will find that you have less and less consumers entering your funnel and you're only chasing efficiency.
Right.
When you want more consumers to enter your funnel, that is where you want to start building your brand. And it is this brand or brand equity that you build that is going to give you significantly better ROI on your performance marketing campaigns.
Absolutely.
As the years pass by.
Right.
Otherwise, you will have to spend on every consumer who enters that funnel. You want an equity or a brand image to create an irrational nature of brand preference.
Right.
And hence you don't need to spend money because people will trust you with their eyes closed, not with discount coupons in their hand.
And we talk a lot of this at Vitral also. So what we say, real value creation begins when a business becomes a brand.
Correct.
Because a business could be built on transactions. What you
Yes.
said, going from 40 to 50 crores with performance marketing is easy. I mean, it's not easy. It's possible, very possible.
Yeah.
But you're not really creating long-term value for the customer. You're dealing on a transaction basis where every transaction takes pretty much the same effort.
Correct.
But when
Correct.
you build a brand is when you're building for the long term. You're building memory structures in the consumer's mind and therefore preference for your brand.
Correct.
And that's why they will pick you, whether you offer them a discount or not.
Correct. And therefore I use the word irrational preference.
Right.
Logical preference you can create by doing anything else. I am talking about irrational preference.
Right.
Because it comes from somewhere deep within.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBCAST.net.
I said I want to lay down two facts. First is
Please.
Creating a brand is critical, even for becoming a more profitable performance marketing brand.
Right.
Now, brand creation, I want people to look at all the examples of famous brands that they've got, that they've seen being built in front of their eyes. They will realize that all of these brands marry some kind of a consumer life insight with their product or a service truth.
Absolutely.
When these two things marry with each other, that is where magic gets created. That is where consumer showers you with irrational love, irrational trust. And then all your logical arguments, discount coupons, trial codes go for a toss.
Yeah. And because
They're not even
logic,
needed.
after you've established emotional connection,
Yeah.
logic is only used to justify the emotional connection that already exists.
Correct. I have a number of examples.
Please.
Asian Paints had this very simple insight about the fact that your house is an extension of your own personality. Right? And therefore, we help you create that personality. We help you create a unique personality.
Right.
And therefore, Piyush Pandey wrote and narrated, हर घर कुछ कहता है, हर घर चुपचाप से कुछ कहता है कि अंदर इसमें कौन रहता है.
What a line now.
Yeah,
I don't
lovely line.
understand Hindi fully and I love that line.
Correct. So it simply says that every house silently depicts or expresses
Who lives there?
who lives inside it.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
That much I understand Hindi.
Yeah. No, this is for other brethren who might not be very fluent with Hindi. Then there is Fevicol. And Fevicol, the line simply says, Fevicol का मजबूत जोड़ है, टूटेगा नहीं. But all the advertising, every advertising without using any dialogues, talks about मजबूत जोड़ from a consumer's life point of view.
Right.
It has transcended beyond wood to wood bond.
Absolutely.
It has transcended to unbreakable bonds which people see in their lives.
Right.
As something as surreal as the bond between a man and his shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, to that level, right? Similarly, Cadbury, some of the magic that both of us have seen unfurling in front of our eyes. When it talks about kuch meetha ho jaye, it talks about those occasions where consumer naturally wants to consume something sweet.
In a mode of celebration.
In a mode of small celebration, rewarding oneself, etc., etc. Yeah, they've captured that life insight, and then they have made Cadbury into meetha.
Right.
Right. There is Onida. Do you remember what was Onida's line?
Owner's pride, neighbor's envy.
Neighbor's envy, owner's pride.
Okay.
Because the envy comes first.
Envy comes first. You're right.
Right. So simple insight that you become happy only when your neighbors become envious.
Envious of you.
right? And therefore this ad. Yeah. And there are enough,
Right.
mentors which captured the pulse of youth. Dimag ki batti jala de.
Right.
Now they took this leap that because of its minty flavor, etc., it just clicks that button in your head. But
Right.
it was the need of the youth that they want to be the smartest one out there.
Absolutely.
Gone are the days where they are the most intelligent or the most meritorious students. It's the smartest one who wins.
Right. And I'm glad for these examples, Sudeep. I'll tell you why. Because I meet with a lot of entrepreneurs who only have international examples to go by. And they don't necessarily have Indian examples that they can cite as special marketing cases. I think this puts it significantly in context.
Yeah, I really wanted to pick up Indian examples because there's sufficiently brilliant work that has happened in India, and there are a lot more out there. No disrespect to every other brand that has been built.
Right.
These are just the ones that came to my head. Another one, international though, but I love the backstory behind it, is the Guinness one. It says good things come to those who wait. Now Guinness by nature when they used to pour it, it used to have those wooden sediments in it.
Okay.
Right. And then and that wooden sediments would take time for it to settle down.
Right.
And it was cited as a problem. The brand turned it around. They said good things come to those who wait. And he asked people to wait.
Right.
So another one, which is product truth and life insight.
Right.
When married together, surf daag achhe hain.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing. Product truth and life insight.
Right.
Whenever you marry these two, and unfortunately, at least in my lifetime, I am for sure, AI wouldn't be able to do this.
Very true, because your Guinness example reminded me of Heinz.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we've spoken about this earlier, that Heinz had a big problem where a lot of consumers complained about it being very slow to get out of the bottle.
Yeah, thick sauce. Yeah.
Yeah. And they could not get a free flowing sauce without compromising the recipe. After a lot of trial, they then announced it as the world's slowest flowing sauce. So, or ketchup.
Correct.
And that's about turning the negative into a positive and justifying to customers why you are this way.
Correct.
And I think it's still the world's number one ketchup.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, you're right. So therefore, again, the same thing. Life insight, product truth. As long as you're able to marry this. So product truth again requires marketers to go deep down into the product. R&D will tell you what the product is. But honestly, discovering a specific aspects of products that might be of relevance to the consumer that you want the consumer to identify it with requires a marketer to, really think through. And the second side is obviously understanding the consumer life truth. Which of the consumer's life insights is something that you can marry to your product truth.
Right.
So I think if you are able to do these two well, then anything that you learn over and above this is going to be significantly valuable.
Got it. And I agree with you. But on behalf of the marketers who are heavily entrenched in the digital domain, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you learn this? How do you learn to do this?
So I think unfortunately, I don't have an intelligent answer for this. I don't have a formula for this. Yeah, it's, I have only one word, practice. Yeah. Regardless of whichever brand you are working for, whether it is in the ambit of your job or not, you would know the TG or the target group of your brand.
Right.
Because you're running a performance campaign, etc. You are at least briefing an agency or you're putting it into your Google Ad Manager. Go meet some of the representatives of your consumers, age group, age band, demographics, psychographics, etc. When you meet them, talk to them, get to know them. Yeah. And don't talk to them about their category, product, etc., etc. Just get to know them. Yeah. Don't make the mistake of assuming that you are the consumer. You might be of the same age band, but it doesn't matter. You are not the consumer.
Right.
So go meet them from different walks of life, large town, small town, etc., etc. Practice talking to them. Take interest in your consumer immersions, as we call it. spend time with them, getting to know them, come back and write down what surprised you, what got confirmed, what is something that you found interesting that you would want to explore more. Yeah, and just keep doing this, right? I think second big part that I want to tell everybody, again, takes a lot of time. Build deep relationships with your creative and your planning partners,
Right.
whoever is making your creatives.
And why is that important
Two
in this
things.
context?
Yeah, two things. Number one, you want them to try and get to know the consumer as hard as you are wanting to. And number two, over a period of time, as they keep meeting consumers, you keep meeting consumers, all the conversations that you have with with them, or they are having with you, all the knowledge that you garner during those conversations, that resident knowledge starts becoming powerful. Yeah, it becomes easier to really separate the wheat from the chaff. It becomes easier for both the agency as well as the brand team to really think through variety of insights that have been captured in the past,
Right.
and see which one of them really marries to the product truth that we are wanting to highlight today. Right? And there is no shortcut to this. Nobody will be able to do a laundry list of powerful insight in 6 months. Yeah, and hence resident knowledge becomes very critical. And hence my submission would be, while you are practicing consumer immersions, please harbor long-term relationships with some people who are going to partner you for creating your creatives, for planning your creatives, etc.
True. I think that's a lovely note, Sudeep, because I thought when I read the title, it's going to be the same answer for a different question. And I like the nuance you brought in. It was about the impact of AI on marketers' jobs earlier. And now, how do marketers future-proof their careers? And I get that AI is only going to take away the mundane aspects of it. And if you are doing the mundane aspects of it, you are at a risk. And especially if you're dependent on softwares and tools which run performance marketing ads, which can very easily be automated. You got to go up the value chain and be a part of the decision-making system, which includes understanding your product, your consumer, and figuring out how your brand brings both of them together. And as a brand, you cannot survive just on performance marketing. With Arindam Paul's quote, you said, you can get to 40-50 crore turnover with just performance marketing, but you still are not building a brand. You've got to feed the funnel to reap the funnel at the bottom. And therefore, building a brand, investing in building a brand and telling the stories, getting the stories right is very important. And you can get those stories right only if you understand your consumers to such an extent that you are able to predict their next move. And I love the closing point that you made, saying you could be in the role for a very short time, in the context of the brand. And you need to foster greater relationships with your agency partners so that you're building a big set of ideas and information about your consumers so that not everybody has to start from scratch. And you are building a brand over time, not just for you, but for your organization.
Yeah. Well, very well summarized, Sharan. That is exactly what I wanted to say.
That's a lovely, lovely thought to close this on, Sudeep. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharan.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharan Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's CoBBcast.net.